The IT guy installing my router said, "Someone's been accessing your cameras for months. Don't react." My internet was unstable. For 3 weeks, it had been my mortal enemy. I'm a graphic designer. I work from home. My entire life, my office, my social life, my income is contained in these 800 square feet, and my internet was failing me. It wasn't just slow. It was malicious. It would wait until I was in the middle of a critical Zoom call, sharing my screen with a new client, and then it would die. The screen would freeze. The audio would drop. The little red icon would pop up. Your internet connection is unstable. It happened at 10:15 a.m. this morning. I was presenting the new logo comps for a $20,000 rebranding project. My screen froze on a half-loaded image. I was kicked from the call. I had to dial back in from my cell phone, my voice shaky, apologizing. My router must be overheating. I'm so sorry. It was humiliating. It was unprofessional. That was the last straw. I called Spectrum. I didn't bother with tech support. I went straight to sales. I told them I didn't care what it cost. I told them I needed 1 gig fiber, and I needed it today. They charged me a $75 installation fee and booked a tech for a 2-hour window, between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. He arrived at 12:17 p.m. I checked the peephole. Blue polo shirt, Spectrum logo, a laminated ID badge that read Devon. He looked young, maybe 25. He was all business. No friendly small talk. He just held up his tablet. "Thea? Here for the 1 gig install. I like that." I hated small talk. "In here," I said, pointing to my office nook. My old router, a Netgear Nighthawk I'd had for 6 years, was blinking pathetically on the desk. He just nodded. He put on the little blue paper booties over his boots and got to work. I went to the kitchen to make coffee, to give him space. He was supposed to be in and out in 30 minutes. And minutes passed. I heard him on the phone, a low murmur. "Yeah, activating the new modem. Serial number 44B7, 45 minutes passed. An hour. It was almost 1:30 p.m. The silence from the living room was weird. It wasn't the sound of work. It was the sound of thinking. I heard a faint tap. Tap, tap, pause. Tap, he was typing. But it was slow, deliberate, investigating. This wasn't a normal install. I walked over to the doorway. "Everything okay?" He didn't look up. This was the first weird thing. He had his diagnostic tablet, but it was plugged directly into my laptop. My personal MacBook Pro. He was scrolling through a log file. Just lines and lines of black and green code. He mumbled something about running a security scan. He said he didn't want any of my old, unsecured settings to compromise the new gateway. It sounded plausible, but he wasn't looking at the new modem. He was holding my old router, the 6-year-old Netgear. He turned it over in his hands. He looked at the serial number, then at the ports. Then he finally looked up, but not at me. His eyes moved, slowly. He scanned my apartment. First, his eyes went to my laptop, specifically to the little green light next to the camera. It was off, but he stared at it. Second, to my smart TV on the wall. The screen was black. Third, to the little white ring camera I had on the bookshelf, pointed at my front door. His eyes were mapping my home. "You live alone, ma'am?" he asked. His voice was flat. My stomach tightened. That question. The one every woman who lives alone hates. I felt my face harden. "Yes," I said. "Why?" My mind flashed instantly to Mr. Coleman, the guy in 4B. He was a network engineer, he'd told me in the elevator. He always stared. He once offered to help optimize my Wi-Fi. I told him no thanks. He was creepy. "Just a lot of devices," Devon said, still not really looking at me. "You like to be secure." It wasn't a question. He unplugged his tablet from my laptop. He stood up. He'd already installed the new modem. The blue lights were on. "Okay," he said, his voice suddenly loud, back to normal. "The new gateway is active. You're all set." He held out his tablet for the signature. The $75 service fee. I reached for the stylus. He stepped closer. Into my personal space. He gestured to the new modem, which was glowing on my desk. "Just want to show you the status lights." I turned, obligingly, to look at the modem. "What am I looking at?" He leaned in. He was right next to my ear. I could feel the warmth from his shoulder. His voice was a flat, cold whisper. It was not his tech voice. It was something else. "Someone's been accessing your cameras for months. Don't react." My blood went cold. I think I stopped breathing. My entire body went rigid. I wanted to look at the Ring camera. I wanted to look at my laptop. I wanted to scream, "Don't," he whispered again. "Keep looking at the router. Nod, ask me about the speed." My voice came out as a high-pitched squeak. "So's is the speed. Is it good?" "Oh yeah, 1 gig is top of the line," he said, his voice loud and clear. He was still holding his tablet, but he'd angled it so only I could see it. He wasn't on the signature page. He'd brought up the log file he was looking at before. It wasn't an error log. It was an exfiltration report. My eyes scanned the numbers. I'm not a tech person, but I understood what I was seeing. IP 181.44.12.9, masked. Protocol, encrypted DNS tunnel data exfiltration. 8 months, 4.5 TB 4.5. Terabytes. He's not just watching, Devin whispered, his lips barely moving. He's recording. That's your entire life. He's listening to us. Right now, I felt sick. I was going to throw up. He put the tablet away. Back to his loud voice. Okay, ma'am. Just need that signature right here. My hand was shaking so hard I could barely scribble my name. It looked like a child's scrawl. The $75 service fee will be on your next bill, he said. He tore off the little paper receipt. The work order. He took a pen from his shirt pocket. He clicked it. On the back of the receipt, he started scribbling. Fast. His handwriting was all caps. He folded the paper. He pressed it into my hand. Don't use your phone. Don't use your laptop. Go to the public library tomorrow at 10 a.m., 3rd floor, tech section. Come alone. I'll find you. He slung his tool bag over his shoulder. He gave the room one last scan. His eyes passed right over the smart plug in the wall outlet, the one my landlord Hollis had given me as a welcome gift 9 months ago. It was just a white plastic box. Nothing special. Devin's eyes didn't even register it. His focus was on the router. He had fixed the router vulnerability. He thought he had cut off the access. He looked me right in the eye. His face was dead serious. Have a nice day, ma'am. Enjoy the new speed, and then he turned. He walked out the door. It clicked shut. I stood in the entryway for a full minute, holding the small piece of paper. The silence of the apartment was deafening. It wasn't my home anymore. It was a stage. It was a prison. Terabytes, 8 months. He saw me work. He saw me sleep. He saw me get out of the shower. He saw me crying after that client call this morning. He heard me talking to my mom on the phone. He heard me singing badly to the radio. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text, I screamed. I literally screamed and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. Don't use your phone. I looked at the laptop on my desk. The little green light was off. But it wasn't. It was never off. I ran to it. I slammed the lid shut. I ripped the cord from the wall. I grabbed the phone from the floor. I ran to the kitchen. The microwave. I'd seen it in a movie. A metal box. I threw my $200 laptop and my iPhone inside. I slammed the door, the TV, the smart TV. It had a mic. I ran to it and ripped the power cord out of the wall, the Ring camera. I tore it off the bookshelf and threw it in the kitchen sink. I turned on the faucet. Water poured over the little black eye, the Alexa dot on my counter. I'd forgotten it. I grabbed it and threw it in the sink too. I had to drown them. I had to drown them all. I slid down the kitchen cabinet, my back against the wood. I was hyperventilating. I was in the one safe room, the kitchen. No cameras. No mics. It was 2:15 p.m. I had 20 hours to wait. 20 hours until 10 a.m. at the library. I sat there, on the cold tile, in the silence, and watched the shadows fill my 800-square-foot prison. I didn't sleep. I sat on the cold kitchen tile until my legs went numb. I watched the clock on the stove. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., at 6 a.m., I splashed cold water on my face. At 9:45 a.m., I couldn't wait another second. I left my apartment. I didn't lock the door. What was the point? I left the microwave full of my dead technology. I left the water still running in the sink, a tiny, steady stream pouring over the drowned black eyes of my cameras. I walked the 18 blocks to the public library. I felt completely exposed. Every person I passed was a suspect. The man in the hoodie reading a paper on a bench. The woman pushing a stroller who seemed to look at me twice. I felt like I had a spotlight on me, like I was a performer who had just realized the entire world was a hostile audience. I was paranoid, but it didn't feel like paranoia. It felt like I was finally seeing clearly. I got to the library at 10:03 a.m. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. 3rd floor. Tech section, it was musty and silent. I walked past aisles of books on C++ and Java, my footsteps echoing on the polished floor. Then I saw him. He was at a computer carrel at the far end, his back to me. He wasn't wearing his blue Spectrum polo. He was in a black hoodie and jeans. He looked like just another college student. I walked up slowly. Devin? He looked up and his eyes were tired. He gestured to the chair next to him. He didn't waste time. He turned his monitor toward me. It was a black screen with cascading lines of green text. It looked like a hidden forum. He explained who he really was. His day job was as an IT tech, yes. But his real work, he was part of a small white hat hacker collective, a group of volunteers, cybersecurity experts who hunted monsters in their spare time. They had been hunting this particular monster for 2 years. They had a name for him? We call him the Architect, Devin said, his voice a low murmur. He explained how he'd found me. It wasn't a coincidence. My service call wasn't random. He uses a specific ancient vulnerability in Netgear Nighthawk firmware, he narrated, pointing to a line of code. We've been scanning public ISP blocks for it. We found 50 vulnerable routers in this city alone. Yours was number 38 on our list. They knew those 50 routers were compromised. They knew they were being exploited. They just didn't have a patient zero. They had no way to tie the digital ghost to a physical location. My call about unstable internet, it was the perfect legal pretext. It was the in he needed to get inside and confirm his suspicions. Then he told me what he'd done in that hour at my apartment. The first thing I did, he said, was trigger a mass cloud backup. Everything. Your laptop, your phone, your Ring account. Every file. Every video. Every keystroke he's been logging. He pointed to the 4.5 TB number I'd seen before. It's all uploading to our secure server right now. We have it. We have the last 8 months of your life. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or even more violated. Then he showed me the other files. The other victims. My potential future. My blood went cold as he laid it out, his voice flat and grim. Bryony, a law student in 2021. The Architect had sent plagiarized essays from her computer, faked withdrawals from her classes. She had a full psychotic breakdown. Sloan, a remote nurse in 2022. He'd intercepted her video calls, altering patient diagnoses in her charts. She lost her license, Jasper, a day trader. The Architect had mirrored his screen, showing him fake stock gains, while he simultaneously executed catastrophic trades from his account, bankrupting him in 48 hours. This wasn't about money. This was about psychological demolition. This was sadism. I felt sick. My mind was racing, desperate, trying to find a solid piece of ground. Who? I whispered. Who is it? Devin shook his head. He's a ghost. The IP is masked. We've never been able to tie him to a person. But my brain had already found one. It had to be. Mr. Coleman, I said, the words spilling out. Devin looked confused. Who? My neighbor, I said. In 4B, 1 floor down. He's a bit creepy. He stares. He told me in the elevator he's a network engineer. He once offered to optimize my Wi-Fi. It all clicked into place. It made perfect, terrifying sense. He was close. He had the skills. He was the one. He must have seen you leave, I insisted, my voice rising. He must have known I was vulnerable. He's the one, Devin looked skeptical. It doesn't fit the pattern, Thea. The Architect has always been remote. Getting physical, it's messy. It's a different profile, but it's him. I was grabbing at the idea. I needed a face for my terror. I needed it to be the creepy guy in 4B. Okay, Devin said, holding up a hand to calm me. Okay, it's a lead. I'll run his name. I'll check him out. I could tell he didn't believe me. He was just placating a hysterical victim. He didn't know. He didn't realize that the Architect wasn't remote at all. He was already inside the building. We have to get you clean, Devin said. He reached under the library table and pulled up a simple black backpack. He unzipped it. Inside was a small, brand-new Chromebook. The box was still sealed. Next to it was a burner phone, the old-school candy bar kind, still in its plastic clamshell. He told me he'd paid cash for both. He laid out the new rules. My old devices, my phone and laptop sitting in the microwave, were dirty. They were digital crime scenes. They were also evidence. His team, he said, would retrieve them from my apartment. They were experts. They would pull the hard drives and mirror them in a clean room. From this moment on, I was a digital ghost. I was not to go back to my apartment. I was not to connect to my home Wi-Fi, or any Wi-Fi I'd ever used before. He told me to go somewhere public. A cafe, another library branch, and to move locations every hour. Use this laptop, this phone. That's it, he'd said. I felt like a spy, or a refugee. Go, he insisted. Log in and start damage control. He knows I was there. He's angry. He's going to be escalating. He's going to try and burn you. Today. I took the backpack. It felt impossibly heavy. I left the library. The bright sunlight outside felt wrong, too cheerful for the new dark world I lived in. My paranoia was 10 times worse now. I was convinced that Mr. Coleman, my creepy neighbor, was watching me from a car, that he'd seen me meet Devin. I walked 4 blocks, then another 6 in a direction I never ever went. I found a small, independent coffee shop called The Daily Grind. It was perfect. Crowded, anonymous, and the Wi-Fi was unsecured. I found a small table in the back corner facing the door. My back was, quite literally, against a wall. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely open the Chromebook box. I powered it on. I connected to the public Wi-Fi. I took a deep breath. Okay, damage control. First, my bank. I typed in the URL for Chase. I logged in. My heart stopped. My checking account balance, 1R314.19. I stared. That was wrong. It was completely wrong. Yesterday I had over $6,300, I knew it. I'd just paid my estimated taxes. My eyes scrolled down, and there it was. Pending transaction. International wire transfer. $5,000. I felt the blood drain from my face. It was going to an account in the Cayman Islands. The timestamp. 9:15 a.m. While I was walking to the library, he was already moving. He was robbing me blind. I clicked on the transfer. Cancel transaction. A red box popped up. This transaction cannot be canceled online. Please call your branch for assistance. I fumbled for the burner phone, tearing it out of the plastic. I had to call the bank. I had to stop it. But before I could, I opened my email. My inbox loaded. A wall of unread messages, but one at the very top made my stomach clench. From Emmett Reyes, Reyes Design Group. Subject, contract termination, urgent no. No, no, no. Emmett was my biggest client. The $15,000 contract I had with him, it paid my rent for the entire year. My hand was trembling. I clicked it. The email was short. Thea, I am attaching the email you sent to my team this morning. It is, without question, the most unprofessional, shocking, and repulsive thing I have ever read from a contractor. Your contract is terminated. Effective immediately. We will be retaining legal counsel to discuss damages. Do not contact me or anyone at my firm again. Attached was a file. Project feedback.emli. Clicked it. It opened a new window. It was an email from me, sent from my account. The timestamp, 10:17 a.m. while I was sitting with Devin, while I was learning about Bryony and Sloan. The subject was, minor revisions. Logo packet started normally. Hi, Emmett, thanks for the notes. And then it just descended into madness. It was a wall of text, 3 paragraphs of pure venom. It called Emmett's project manager a talentless idiot. It used slurs. It insulted the company's brand, their clients, and Emmett himself. It accused them of trying to scam me. It said I was done working for worthless corporate hacks. It wasn't my voice. It wasn't my words, but it was from my account. I was going to be sick, right there on the floor of the daily grind. He was doing it. Devin was right. He was burning me. This wasn't a game anymore. This wasn't just watching. This was a demolition. He knew I was onto him. He knew I'd met Devin, so he'd hit the self-destruct button on my entire life. He was trying to erase me. I was losing my money. I was losing my biggest client. I was losing my reputation. I grabbed the burner phone. I didn't call the bank. I called Devin. He answered on the first ring. My voice was a choked sob. I told him what was happening. The transfer? The email. It's him, I whispered, frantic. It has to be Coleman. He saw you leave. He's ruining me. He's burning me to the ground. Right now, I was hysterical. I was connecting all the dots to my creepy neighbor. It was the only thing that made sense. You have to check the data, I pleaded. You have to look for Coleman. It's him. It has to be. I met Devin an hour later at a different library branch across town. My hands were still shaking from the encounter at the coffee shop. I was a wreck, half convinced Mr. Coleman was following me. We found a quiet table in the history section. I laid it all out for him, my voice a frantic whisper. The $5,000, the email from Emmett, my career, my savings, all evaporating in real time. It's Coleman, I insisted. It has to be. He's a network engineer. He lives right below me. He's doing this now because he saw you. Devin was quiet. He just listened. When I was done, he shook his head slowly. It's not Coleman. My heart sank. What, you don't know that? I do, he said. He turned his own laptop around. I ran his name. As soon as you mentioned him, I ran him through every database I have. Scott Coleman. 4B. He works in IT for a dental supply company. He has no criminal record. No history of this. His digital footprint is clean. He's just a guy. I felt the floor drop out. If it wasn't Coleman, then who? It was a ghost again. A faceless monster, then who? I whispered, the tears finally coming. Who is doing this to me? Devin was quiet for a long moment. Think, Thea. Has anyone new come into your life in the last 9 months? Anyone at all? Anyone with access? I shook my head. No, I work from home. I don't meet new people. Just clients, and they're all Wait, I stopped. 9 months. The building, I said. The management company changed. We got a new property manager. About 9 months ago? Devin's eyes locked onto mine. Who? Hollis, I said. Hollis Voss. The name felt strange on my tongue. He was just the guy in the first floor office, smiling, handing out packages, and then it hit me, a memory, from 9 months ago. When he took over, he'd given every tenant a welcome gift. I looked at Devin, my eyes wide with a new dawning horror. He gave me a gift, I whispered. A free smart plug, for tenant appreciation. I plugged it in right next to my desk. Devin's face went pale. He didn't say anything for a full 10 seconds. He just stared at me. Then he spoke, and his voice was cold. Thea, the router. It wasn't the entry point. It was a decoy. A backup. He started typing, his fingers flying across his keyboard. He saw me, Devin narrated, his eyes glued to the screen. He saw me install the new router. He knew his Nighthawk backdoor was gone. That's why he escalated. That's why he sent the burn emails immediately. He wasn't panicking. He was angry. The smart plug, he said, that's the real weapon. It's not a Netgear vulnerability. It's his own hardware. It's probably on its own cellular chip. It bypasses your Wi-Fi completely. It's how he's still watching you. Wait, I said, my mind catching up. You said you backed up my Ring camera. Can you? I'm already on it, Devin said. He'd found the staff photo of Hollis Voss on the Aperture property. Management website, he was running a facial, recognition scan against the 8 terabytes of video data he'd pulled from my Ring cloud. Didn't know who I was looking for before, he muttered. I was looking for Coleman. Now I'm looking for him. The scan took less than a minute. A file popped up. A video file timestamp 3 weeks ago. 2:14 p.m. Watch this, Devin said. He hit play. The video was from my own Ring camera. It showed my front door from the bookshelf. The door opened. Hollis Voss, my smiling, friendly property manager, let himself into my apartment with his master key. He wasn't there to fix anything. He was just there. He walked to my desk. He looked at my laptop screen, which was on. He looked at my notebooks. Then, he turned. He looked directly at the Ring camera. He knew it was there. He smiled. It was a slow, arrogant, chilling smile. And then he raised 2 fingers to his temple. A little mocking salute. A wave. He turned and walked out of my apartment. I stopped breathing. This wasn't just a hack. This wasn't a secret. This was a taunt. He wanted to be seen. He knew I had a camera. He was so arrogant, so deep inside my life, that he was waving at his own surveillance. He knew I'd probably never even look. My God, I whispered. Devin closed the laptop. His face was grim. He's not just an architect, he said. He's a predator. And he's in the building. He pulled out his burner phone. Not the one he gave me. His own. I'm making a call, he said. My group has a contact. Agent Kincaid. FBI cybercrimes. He stood up and walked a few feet away. I watched him. He was talking fast, his voice low and urgent. I heard fragments. Hollis Voss. Aperture management. Not just wire fraud. Physical trespassing. Custom-built surveillance device. Hardware. Yes, a custom plug. 4.5 terabytes of video. He was quiet for a long time, listening. Then he nodded. We'll wait for your team. He hung up and came back. They're interested, he said. Kincaid? She said the video is good. The emails are better. But the smart plug, that's the smoking gun. It's not just a hack. It's a custom-built illegal surveillance device. It's a RICO charge waiting to happen. What now? I asked. Now, Devin said, we catch him. Kincaid's team is on their way. We need to get that plug. Agent Kincaid was all business. We met her in a parked, unmarked car a few blocks from my building. Devin sat in the front, I was in the back. The sparking plug idea was thrown out immediately. Kincaid said it was too messy, too unbelievable. She explained the legal side. Hollis was arrogant, but he wasn't stupid. He wouldn't risk coming for a broken device. But he would risk everything to protect his secret. We had to create a logical threat. A situation where he had to retrieve his plug, or risk it being discovered by a third party. The plan was simple and brilliant. Kincaid's team had already confirmed with building management that emergency electrical testing was a plausible event. I went to a new cafe, a different one, 6 blocks away. I opened the clean Chromebook. My hands were steady now. The fear was still there, but it was cold. It was turning into anger. I logged into a new anonymous email account Devin had set up for me. I began to type. The email was a work of art. I played the role of the frantic, annoyed tenant to Hollis Voss, Aperture Property Management, subject, Urgent, electrical work. Tomorrow, Hollis, I just got a notice slipped under my door. The super is doing emergency electrical testing tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It says they have to test every single outlet and unplug everything. I'm worried about that special smart plug you gave me. I don't want them to mess it up. Can you please come and get it this afternoon? Or should I just give it to the electrician when he comes? Please let me know. Thanks. Thea hit send. The bait was in the water. We were forcing his hand. He could not, under any circumstances, let a random electrician get his hands on that custom, $2,000 piece of surveillance hardware. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes. Nothing. My burner phone buzzed. A text from Devin. He's read it. We're monitoring his network activity. Another 5 minutes of silence. Then the reply, Thea, do not let the electrician touch that plug. It's proprietary hardware. I will be by at 4 p.m. today to retrieve it personally. Please just leave it on the desk. Hollis. My heart leaped. We had him. He had just confirmed in writing that the plug was his. I was moved to a safe house cafe, 2 blocks away from my building, with a clear view of the front entrance. Agent Kincaid and 2 other agents were there, pretending to work on laptops. At 3:30 p.m., my burner phone buzzed. A text from Devin, we're in. Team is in the closet. I'm in the van. Stay put. He was inside my apartment with an FBI tactical team, waiting. I watched the clock. My coffee was cold, pure PM, pure 55, PM 4R, PM. At 4:02 p.m., I saw him, Hollis. He walked up the front steps of the building, a small toolbox in his hand, just like a normal, helpful property manager. He went inside. The silence was deafening. My entire life was hanging in that silent 4:03 p.m. I watched the front door of the building. Nothing. 4 p.m., 4:05 p.m. I was vibrating, my leg bouncing under the table. Kincaid across the room never even looked up from her screen. 7 p.m. My burner phone rang. It was Devin. I snatched it up. Hello? We got him, Thea. I choked back a sob. What happened? He walked right in. Devin's voice was electric. He didn't even look around. He went straight to the desk. He unplugged the smart plug. He looked at it for a second, almost lovingly. Then he slipped it right into his jacket pocket. He'd been so arrogant, he'd put the smoking gun on his own person. The team moved in, Devin continued. Closet door burst open. You should have seen his face. He didn't even have time to think. He was in cuffs before he could even ask what was happening. They had him, and more importantly, they had the plug. The chain of custody was perfect. He was in the apartment without permission, and the illegal custom-built surveillance device was in his pocket. It was over. The architect was caught. The next 8 months were a blur of lawyers, depositions, and therapy. The wheels of federal justice turned slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. The smart plug in Hollis's pocket was the key that unlocked everything. It led the FBI to his home office and to the server. It was worse than we thought. They found 4.5 terabytes of data. It wasn't just me. Hollis had done this in all 4 of his buildings. They found 28 victims, lives he had systematically infiltrated and torn apart. Bryony, the law student, Sloan, the nurse, Jasper, the day trader, and 24 others, all of us WFH professionals, all of us living alone. The $5,000 wire transfer he'd attempted from my account? That was the linchpin. Agent Kincaid's team had frozen the transfer just in time. The bank reversed it 72 hours later. But the attempt was the key. It was the undeniable proof of wire fraud that made this a federal case, not just a state-level peeping Tom charge. The trial began in March. It felt unreal, sitting in that courtroom. Hollis was there in a perfectly tailored suit, looking like a CEO. He smiled at me. That same arrogant smile from the Ring video. His defense was slick. He had a team of 3 high-priced lawyers. Their argument was simple. Hollis Voss was the real victim. They painted me as a disgruntled tenant, upset about my internet. They painted Devin as a vigilante hacker who had a personal vendetta. Their story? Devin planted the smart plug in my apartment. Hollis, being a concerned and hands-on property manager, saw the strange, sparking device. They loved that fake detail I'd almost used, and was simply removing it for my safety when he was wrongfully arrested. The 4.5 terabytes of data? Deepfakes, they claimed. Planted by Devin to frame an innocent man. It was a good story, but the prosecution had Devin. Devin, on the witness stand, was a star. He wasn't a vigilante. He was a registered, credentialed cybersecurity expert. He calmly and simply dismantled the defense. The prosecution brought in the smart plug. Exhibit A, they performed a full forensic teardown for the jury, live on the courtroom monitors. Devin pointed out the components. That, he said, pointing with a laser, is not a Wi-Fi chip. That is a 4G cellular module. It has its own untraceable data plan. And this is a custom printed circuit board. This device was designed from scratch for one purpose: illegal remote surveillance. But the real takedown, it was the server. Hollis's defense team had based their entire case on the idea that Devin had framed him. The prosecutor smiled. Mr. Voss, she said to the jury, was arrested 8 months ago. But our server data, it's time-stamped. She played a video. It was Bryony, the law student, from 2021, then another. Sloan, the nurse, from 2022, then another. Jasper. She showed the jury authenticated, time-stamped recordings of all 28 victims, stretching back 3 years. Long before Devin had ever heard my name, Hollis's planting defense evaporated in an instant. The prosecutor's closing argument was brutal. This was never just about money, she said, pacing in front of the jury box. Though the $1.2 million he stole from their accounts and leases, that was his fuel. This was about power. This was a man with a God complex. A man who built his own digital dollhouses, and when he got bored, he set them on fire just for the pleasure of watching them burn. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty, on all 42 counts. At the sentencing, the judge read a statement. He called Hollis's actions a profound and monstrous violation of the home. Hollis Voss was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. The civil suit came next. A class action filed by all 28 of us. The company Aperture Management was a shell, but it had assets. The 4 buildings. They were seized and liquidated. The total settlement was $12.8 million after the lawyers took their share. My part was $450,000. It was enough to start over. Far, far away from that 800-square-foot prison. It's been 3 years. I live in a different city now, on the other side of the country. My new apartment is small, 600 square feet. It's a studio in an old brick building with a dumb lock on the door, the kind that uses a physical metal key. I have no smart devices. There is no Alexa. There is no Ring camera. My television is just a television. It isn't connected to the internet. My work laptop, the one I bring home from the office, has a little piece of plastic slid over the camera. A physical cover. I don't work from home anymore. I took a job at a design firm. I have a cubicle. I have a commute. I like the separation. I like leaving my work at the office and closing the door behind me. It feels safe. The paranoia has faded mostly, but it left vigilance in its place. I don't use public Wi-Fi. I change my passwords every 60 days. I read the fine print. The trauma left a scar, but it's a scar that taught me to be more careful. Devin still works in IT, but he also runs his own cybersecurity firm. He's very successful. He consults for companies like the one I work for, teaching them how to not be stupid. We're friends. We talk a few times a year, and I send him a Christmas card. I'm in touch with some of the other victims. Bryony, the law student, used her settlement money to go back to school. She passed the bar. She's a privacy advocate now, working for a nonprofit in D.C. She's fighting guys like Hollis. Sloan and Jasper co-founded a support group. It's a small foundation, but it helps victims of digital stalking and cyber gaslighting. They help people navigate the legal system, and they teach them how to disappear. Hollis Voss is in a medium-security federal prison in Oregon. His appeals have all been denied. He'll be 62 years old when he's eligible for parole. I still feel guilty about Mr. Coleman. The creepy neighbor in 4B, about a year after the trial, I found his new address and sent him a $100 Visa gift card with a note. I just said, I'm sorry I was a weird neighbor. I was going through a hard time. He sent back a confused thank you card. Turns out he was just an awkward guy who really liked Wi-Fi. Sometimes I think about my old life. My 800-square-foot apartment. It felt so big at the time, but in the end, it was a prison. It was a stage. My new apartment is 600 square feet. It's smaller, but for the first time in years, standing here, with my simple lock and my dumb TV, I finally feel like I have room to breathe. The IT guy who installed my router, he did more than just fix my internet. He showed me what was truly broken. I learned that the strongest walls aren't made of drywall. They're made of vigilance.